out on dates. You want somebody to come bring you flowers, someone to talk to for hours.
Tonight in Operation Crime and Justice, the instincts of a mid-state mother leads to a murder confession in a case Metro Police initially considered a suicide.
I would do anything to have her back. Anything. She's my baby.
What led you to believe that Donovan killed April and it wasn't a suicide?
I knew that April was unhappy. I knew that she requested a divorce 2 weeks prior.
April Holt, a 29-year-old mother from Antioch, Tennessee, was found deceased in her bathroom in July 2023. Initially, her death was ruled a suicide. However, her mother, Jamie Dickerson, noticed injuries that raised suspicions and believed foul play was involved.
I talked to her an hour and a half before. She texted me an hour and a half before she was found dead. Perfectly fine. I texted her the night before. Perfectly fine. She was meeting me at church the next day. Nothing led to signs of suicide.
Despite initial resistance from authorities, Dickerson conducted her own investigation, gathering significant evidence. This included fingerprints on a suffocation bag that matched April's husband, Donovan Holt. In June 2024, Donovan confessed to strangling April and staging her death as a suicide. He was subsequently indicted on charges including reckless homicide.
Metro detectives questioned the husband and got a confession. Holt was arrested in Texas last week. He's charged with reckless homicide, false reporting, and tampering with evidence.
Following this ordeal, Jamie Dickerson established the Grieve With Me Center to support others experiencing similar losses and to advocate for legal reforms to aid grieving families in seeking justice. Let's see the instincts of a determined mid-state mother led to a shocking murder confession in a case that Metro Police initially ruled as a suicide. This is the chilling story of April Holt, a TikTok influencer brutally murdered by her own husband. He thought he'd gotten away with it, until her mother made him confess. Jamie Dickerson, April's mother, spent months conducting her own investigation after police refused to believe her suspicions. April wasn't just another face online. She was a beloved influencer with over 200,000 TikTok followers, living what seemed to be an ideal life. But behind the screen was a darker reality. April was found unconscious in her bathroom with a plastic bag taped over her head. 3 days later, she was gone. But that's not even the most chilling part. When you reach the end of this story, the truth will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Before we begin the story, we want to take a moment to extend our heartfelt condolences to the friends, family, and loved ones of April Holt. This devastating loss has left an irreplaceable void in the lives of those who knew and cherished her. This story will take us to Nashville, Tennessee, where April Holt, a beloved influencer's life, ended in a brutal and tragic murder. She was a vibrant force with over 200,000 followers who adored her for her quirky, uplifting videos about manifesting positivity and overcoming life's challenges. But beyond the screen, April was so much more.
These are the good old days. We're making memories now. So don't miss making a memory by not being present in the moment. Live, laugh, experience, feel, love, cry, and just be. But remember, you're making memories right now. These are the good old days.
She was a devoted mother to her 2 children, 12-year-old daughter Serenity and 8-year-old son in Denzel, and a self-made entrepreneur. Starting out as a lash technician, she built her own business from the ground up, embodying the hustle and determination her followers admired. Despite her sunny online persona, April's life wasn't as picture-perfect as it seemed. She was open about her struggles, sharing vulnerable moments from her past, like the deep isolation she felt growing up homeschooled. These raw, authentic glimpses into her life made her fans love her even more because she was real, unapologetically herself.
You shouldn't fear failure. You should fear being in the exact same position that you are today next year. We are halfway through 2023 and some people have made major moves and their lives have completely transformed. However, there are a huge group of people who are in the exact same position financially, spiritually, mentally, relationship-wise that they were last year, and you have not grown. I'm telling you right now, it is not too late to make the intentional decision to grow and do better for yourself, to manifest a better life. We are here on earth to grow and evolve. And if you're not doing that, you're not really living. Get up and grow, y'all. Bless your life and have a great day on purpose.
However, not everything April endured made it onto TikTok. Behind the camera, her marriage to Donovan Holt, her husband of several years, was far from the loving, light-hearted relationship they portrayed online. The couple had separated once before without officially filing for divorce, only to reconcile and give their relationship another chance. But in July 2023, April made a life-changing decision. She filed for divorce again and confided in her mother that this time she wasn't going back. July 28, 2023, started like any other day in the Holt household. April woke up, drank her morning coffee and journaled, daily rituals that brought her peace. She hugged her 7-year-old son, Denzel, and went about her morning. But by the end of that day, everything would change forever. What happened next is horrifying. According to young Denzel's recollection, his parents got into an argument behind the closed bathroom door. The muffled voices escalated into shouting, then fighting, and eventually, an eerie silence. Denzel later told his grandmother, Jamie, that his father, Donovan, emerged from the bathroom, calmly got dressed, and even fed him. Then, in a chilling twist, Donovan told his son to go check on your mother. That's when Denzel made a heartbreaking discovery. His mother, April, was unresponsive in the shower with a plastic bag taped over her head. Donovan called 911, but by the time paramedics arrived, it was too late. April was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. For 3 agonizing days, she remained unresponsive, clinging to life. But on July 31, 2023, April Holt was pronounced dead, leaving behind a legacy of love, strength, and a mystery that would soon unravel into something even darker. By the way, we post true crime stories and strange cases. If this interests you, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support means a lot and helps us continue sharing this content.
I would do anything to have her back. Anything. She's my baby.
Firstly, April Holt's death was ruled a suicide. Metro Nashville police quickly closed the case, claiming there was no evidence of foul play. But April's mother, Jamie Dickerson, knew something wasn't right. She couldn't believe her daughter, a devoted mother and fighter, would take her own life. Her suspicions grew when she noticed Donovan, April's husband, behaving strangely at the hospital. He was cold, detached, and left critical decisions to Jamie. Even more unsettling, he left the hospital twice while April was in critical condition, raising questions about what was so urgent. Despite all of these, investigators stood by their initial ruling. Refusing to accept this, Jamie launched her own investigation. She requested the full case file, combed through every detail, and filed a formal complaint with Nashville's Community Review Board. Her relentless efforts eventually forced the police to reopen the case, but they still wouldn't classify April's death as a homicide. To make matters worse, Donovan moved to Texas just months after April's death and tried to gain custody of their son, Denzel. The thought of Donovan raising her grandson was unbearable for Jamie. She fought to keep Serenity and Denzel together, providing them with a stable home and grief counseling. Beyond her family, Jamie became an advocate against domestic violence, using her story to raise awareness. She even wrote a book, Grieving Through Grace, to help others navigate loss. After more than a year of fighting for the truth, Jamie confronted Donovan directly over FaceTime in September 2024. Armed with fingerprint evidence from the case file, she demanded answers, and Donovan shockingly confessed. He admitted to killing April during an argument and staging the scene to look like a suicide. He even described how he taped the bag over her head before casually walking away to make lunch for their son. As Jamie dug deeper, disturbing details emerged.
The mom tells me even though her daughter's death was first ruled a suicide, she found through this lengthy cold case file what she needed to get her son-in-law to confess he killed her.
Tonight in Operation Crime and Justice, the instincts of a mid-state mother leads to a murder confession in a case Metro Police initially considered a suicide.
The autopsy revealed bruises on April's neck, thighs, and ankles, clear signs of a struggle, along with a gash on her inner thigh. The most damning evidence? A plastic bag and duct tape from the scene had only one set of fingerprints, Donovan's. Jamie immediately turned the recorded confession over to the police. April's death was officially reclassified as a homicide, and Donovan was arrested in San Antonio, Texas, then extradited to Tennessee. Metro detectives questioned the husband and got a confession. Holt was arrested in Texas last week. He's charged with reckless homicide, false reporting, and tampering with evidence. The autopsy report has been amended to reflect the cause of death as homicide instead of suicide. But the justice Jamie fought so hard for felt incomplete. Donovan was charged only with reckless homicide, evidence tampering, and false reporting, charges Jamie believed were far too lenient for the life he took.
What led you to believe that Donovan killed April and it wasn't a suicide?
I knew that April was unhappy. I knew that she requested a divorce 2 weeks prior, and then she was dead 2 weeks later. This is the first autopsy stating that she had put the bag over her head and that it was suicide. I confronted him and he confessed to me. And so that is when I went to the police. I feel like they've failed my family. I have had to fight at the same time as grieve my daughter.
Although Holt was charged with reckless homicide, Dickerson wants it to be upped to a higher charge.
After Donovan's arrest, you'd think the fight was over, but for Jamie it was just beginning. April's children, Serenity and Denzel, had already lost their mother, and Jamie was determined to keep them safe and together. However, Donovan wanted custody of Denzel, sparking an exhausting custody battle. Denzel, just 8 years old, was terrified at the thought of leaving his grandmother, often begging through tears, "I'll do anything to stay with you." Jamie fought relentlessly, providing a loving home and grief counseling for both children. But balancing the emotional toll of raising 2 grieving kids while fighting for justice was overwhelming.
Frustrated. I've always thought that the justice system was meant to fight for the innocent, and I've almost felt like they fought for the suspect. I talked to her an hour and a half before. She texted me an hour and a half before she was found dead. Perfectly fine. I texted her the night before. Perfectly fine. She was meeting me at church the next day. Nothing led to signs of suicide. If your gut, if your spirit is telling you this isn't right, go with it. Keep digging. Don't just listen to the word closed case and say, oh, they can't reopen it. Yes, I'm getting justice, but I feel like it's just the bare minimum, and I want all these charges increased. I mean, I don't even know why there's not child endangerment and why there's not first-degree murder. On the back of it, it has ALH for April.
Despite Donovan's confession, he was charged with lesser crimes: reckless homicide, evidence tampering, and false reporting, far from the first-degree murder Jamie believed he deserved. Jamie launched a GoFundMe to support her grandkids. Seeing the lack of grief resources, Jamie hopes to provide a safe space where people can gather, find support, and heal together. The center, Grieve With Me, will offer grief groups, art therapy, and future grief camps. She believes grief is a journey, not something to get through alone, and hopes the center will bless the community and inspire others. Outraged, Jamie launched a campaign to have his charges upgraded. She contacted the district attorney, lobbied public officials, and pushed for media coverage. But gaining attention was an uphill battle. Local outlets ignored the story and celebrities didn't respond. Still, Jamie refused to give up. Donovan's fingerprints were on the duct tape and plastic bag used to stage April's death. He had confessed in detail. Yet, the justice system treated it like a lesser crime. Jamie's fight wasn't just for April, it was for every victim whose story risks being silenced. Life without their mother was a daily struggle for Serenity and Denzel. Jamie shared glimpses of their healing journey on social media, grief counseling sessions, comforting them through nightmares, and trying to create a sense of normalcy. But the emotional scars ran deep. How do you explain to 2 young children that their father, the person meant to protect them, is the reason their mother is gone? Jamie's grief was just as raw. In her book Grieving Through Grace, she opened up about the pain of losing a child and the strength it took to keep going. She became an advocate against domestic violence, shedding light on abuse that often leaves no visible scars. April's story is chilling, a woman murdered by someone who was supposed to love her. It forces us to ask, can we ever truly know the people around us? The scary truth is, it could happen to anyone. What do you think? Should Donovan's charges be upgraded to first-degree murder? What changes are needed in our justice system to better protect victims of domestic violence? Kelvie McRae, she was living her dream at just 18, a rising model, successful beautician, and influencer with her whole life ahead of her.
Her boyfriend came in and shot at my baby dad.
It's a frantic call for help from a mother. This is what the scene looked like Wednesday night.
And we heard the gunshots in the house. So the son ran. Okay. And when I ran in the house, I couldn't get in. The mother let me in, and by that time, this girl she's on the floor.
But one FaceTime call would capture her final moments, in a tragedy that shook West Palm Beach to its core. As Kelvie McRae's friends watched helplessly through their screens, Her decision to break free from a toxic relationship would lead to devastating consequences that no one saw coming. What drives someone who claims to love you to commit the ultimate act of control? And could the system that was supposed to protect her have done more when she cried out for help? This is the story of Kelvie McCrae, a story that reminds us how quickly dreams can turn to nightmares and why we need to speak up before it's too late. Kelvie McCrae, a vibrant and talented young model with a bright future ahead of her, tragically lost her life at just 18 years old in a horrifying act of violence. Kelvie, who lived in West Palm Beach, Florida, was an ambitious and talented model. Known for her radiant smile and entrepreneurial spirit, Kelvie had started building a successful social media presence and inspiring others with her journey. Tragically, her life was cut short in a shocking act of domestic violence, leaving her loved ones and followers mourning the loss of a young woman with so much potential. She had been in a relationship with 19-year-old Kayshawn Shaw for about a year. Kayshawn Shaw was also from West Palm Beach, Florida, described as controlling and volatile. Kayshawn struggled to cope after Kelvie ended their year-long relationship. His escalating behavior, marked by threats and violence, culminated in an unthinkable act, forever altering the lives of those around him. Following their breakup, Kayshawn reportedly began making threats against Kelvie, escalating his behavior in alarming ways. Just one day before the fatal incident, police responded to a 911 call after Kayshawn had attempted to strangle Kelvie during a confrontation. According to reports, he later held a firearm to her head, a terrifying escalation of his threats. Fortunately, Kelvie managed to escape that encounter, fleeing the scene in her car to protect herself. This tragic series of events highlights the devastating consequences of intimate partner violence and serves as a reminder of the critical need for resources and support for those facing such dangers. As Kelvie tried to drive away from the terrifying situation, Kayshawn reportedly jumped onto her windshield with such force that he completely shattered it. The warning signs were glaringly obvious to anyone paying attention. Kelvie was in imminent danger and desperately needed protection from this clearly unstable individual. Tragically, that protection never came. Car windshield broken footages.
West Palm Beach police say a woman and her estranged boyfriend have both died after a shooting last night. That shooting happened inside a home on 13th Street and North Mangonia in West Palm Beach. When police arrived, they found Kelvie McCrae shot several times. Police then found Kayshawn Shaw with a gunshot wound to his head. Police say Shaw lived in the home and was struggling with their recent breakup. Police say he pulled a gun on her a day before. Shaw died from his injuries this afternoon.
Kelvie was just beginning to build a career as an influencer and had already garnered a significant following on social media. She used her platform to share the horrifying truth about the nightmare she was living through with her ex-boyfriend. She bravely revealed the threats and abuse she endured after deciding to end their relationship. Despite her efforts to expose how dangerous Kayshawn truly was, the protection she so desperately needed was never provided. In March 2024, a tragic incident unfolded in West Palm Beach, Florida. While Kelvie was on a FaceTime call with 3 friends, Shaw entered her residence and fatally shot her before turning the gun on himself. Her friends, witnessing the horrifying event in real time, later recounted to authorities how Shaw fired the fatal shot. Both were transported to St. Mary's Medical Center, where McCrae died at a hospital that night while Shaw initially survived his injuries. Police charged Shaw with first-degree murder the following morning, but he died that afternoon. Investigators said Shaw and McCrae had ended their relationship in January, but Shaw was living at McCrae's home at the time of the attack because he had no other place else to stay. This devastating event was preceded by a series of alarming incidents. Kelvie had ended her year-long relationship with Shaw, who reacted violently to the breakup. Just a day before the murder, Shaw was arrested on charges of assaulting Kelvie, including attempting to strangle her and holding a firearm to her head. Despite these clear signs of escalating violence, Shaw was released from custody and returned to commit the fatal act. The most heartbreaking aspect of this case is that Kelvie had repeatedly sought help from law enforcement to protect her from Shaw, but that help never came. Had she received the protection she asked for, she might still be alive today. West Palm Beach attorneys Nick Johnson and Greg Francis announced, that their office has filed a public records request with the local police department. This request is part of their investigation into whether the officers involved handled the situation appropriately. The attorneys explained that their review of these records will play a crucial role in helping the family determine whether to proceed with legal action against the city and its police department. This devastating story is yet another reminder of how domestic violence kills and how even women who take every step to seek help can still fall through the cracks of a broken system. This case underscores the critical need for systemic changes in how domestic violence cases are handled. Advocates argue for more comprehensive support systems, better training for law enforcement, and stricter enforcement of protective measures to prevent such tragedies in the future. Please subscribe to the channel to stay updated about the future upload. Thank you for watching another video of Truth in Crimes. Share your thoughts about this heartbreaking case in the comments below. We value your input. We dedicate ourselves to delivering accurate and compelling true crime stories using information from reliable sources. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you soon with another captivating story.